Namaste everyone. Hope you're all having a nice day. And today I'm going to continue the stories that I have been telling from the Holy Scripture Shiva Purana. And if we recollect from the last few sessions, we are talking about how the creation happened, how the Trimurtis came to be, and where did they settle, and how did Brahma begin his process of creation. So this is what happens when Brahma sleeps. That is called one kalpa, and when Brahma is awake, that's called another kalpa. In other words, Brahma's day is divided into two kalpas, and when he sleeps, there is a pralaya, there is a dissolution. Except the Trimurtis, nobody else remains. And when he wakes up, he begins the process of creation all over again. So on one such morning, on one such fine morning, Brahma woke up and he decided that it was time for him to begin the day. And he started thinking where to begin from, because for every project, beginning is the problem, right? Once we begin and somehow we keep at it and we finish the project, and it was no different for even Lord God Brahma. Even he had to begin at some point, and he decided that the easiest thing to do would be to create different worlds. So he created the 7 worlds above the earth, the 7 worlds below, and the earth and the heaven. So then he sighed, because there were no inhabitants in any of the worlds he had created. So then he created 10 sons, very able, eligible sons from his mind, and they are called the Manasaputras, or the mind-born sons of Brahma. So one of those mind-born sons was Daksha, and Brahma instructed Daksha to go to earth and begin the process of creation. And now Daksha began to worry. So basically Brahma had already created the worlds, and now what was Daksha's task was to populate these worlds. So Daksha began to think how to go about this task of creating. Even he created a few mind-born sons, but that did not help much. And there are these 14 worlds that are to be populated, and then Brahma gave his son an idea. He said, why don't you marry this beautiful girl Asikni, and both of you together have some children. So by and by, Daksha married Asikni, and they had a very happy married life, and eventually they had some sons. Not one, not two, not 100 like the Kauravas. They had 10,000 sons. Come on, they are gods and heavenly beings. So they could bring up 10,000 sons. So they had 10,000 sons, and they were all collectively called the Haryashvas. So it's not possible to name 10,000 of them one by one, right? So maybe I feel that's why they were called the Haryashvas, all put together. And the Haryashvas born to Daksha and Asikni were highly virtuous, highly educated, highly obedient, and they were the ideal sons a parent could have. And Daksha was so proud of his sons. Each time he looked at his sons, his heart swelled in pride. He thought, oh my God, I have really created such able children who are going to help me in populating these worlds that my father Brahma has created. So by the time the Haryashvas finished their basic schooling of the Vedas, Upanishads, the weapons, and they were about 13 or 14 years of age, Daksha as told them what they were born for, that their duty was to help him populate the worlds. So Haryashvas, being the obedient sons they said, if we can be of help to you, Father, we would definitely, go all out and help you. And Brahma said, okay, before we begin this process, I want you to go to this holy river or lake, the water body called Narayanasara. It's a lake, and I want you to take a dip in that holy lake and come out of the lake, meditate for a while, and come back, and then we will start the process. Haryashvas agreed, and all 10,000 of the brothers, left to the lake that their father asked them to. Daksha was already a little sad to see his sons, go out of his house, but then he consoled himself that they were going to be back very soon, and they were going to be one big happy family, and they were going to, begin the process of populating the world. So the Haryashvas reached Narayana's, a beautiful lake, beautiful blue lake, surrounded by trees and inhabited by animals. They fell in love with that spot, and they silently thanked their father for sending them to that beautiful place. They took a dip in the lake and they felt very rejuvenated. Then they also felt lighter, and they came to the river banks and started meditating. And they meditated for some time, and while they were still in the process of meditating, who has to come there? It is the trickster sage Narada. So Narada came there and he started talking to all the Haryashvas one by one. By the way, Narada is also a mind-born son of Brahma, so that makes Narada and Daksha brothers. So Narada and these Haryashvas were so excited to see Narada. He's a heavenly sage. He sees the Trimurtis. He talks to them. So it's, he's a very, what do I say? He seemed like a superstar to these Haryashvas, because he routinely meets with the Holy Trinity. And then Narada asked them, so why are you all here? You're all so young, and this usually is a lake that sages take a dip in for attaining moksha. Why are you here? And the Haryashvas told him that they were there because their father had asked them to start the process of creation, help the process of creation. That's why they were going to take a dip in this holy waters and go back and help their father. Then Narada said, just hummed. He said, okay. Then the Haryashvas were a little taken aback. Why isn't Narada saying anything? So they asked Sage Narada, why? Why do you seem to be a little bit in doubt about what we are saying? Narada said, I don't know. Have you seen any pralaya or the dissolution? The Haryashva said, no, we are so young. Why will we see any dissolution? Narada hummed again. Okay. Have you, how much life have you seen outside of your palace? Haryashva said, what do you mean? We were educated all our lives. We stayed with our parents and we have seen whatever we had to see. Then Narada asked them, so with this kind of knowledge, do you really think you're capable of populating the worlds that Lord Brahma has created? Now the Haryashvas were a little taken aback. They were like, we don't know. That's what our father said. That, we should go and help him out. That's what we are going to do, go and help him out. And Narada said, oh, okay, fair enough. Do you know how you will be helping your father? How the process of populating the worlds is going to happen? What kind of beings you are going to create? Any thoughts on that? Look, Haryashvas were young boys, right? They said, no, we are just hoping our father will help us. Okay, you get my point. Narada, step by step, convinced those boys that they really are not ready to help their father create the worlds. They really are not yet capable of populating the worlds that's created by Brahma himself. So now the Haryashvas got very worried. After listening to Narada for a few hours and a few days, they were really convinced that they should not be taking up the task. So they just, did their pranams to Narada and just went into the forest, never to come back. Months turned into years, years turned into many years. Here Daksha is waiting and waiting for his sons to come back, but no sign of them. Now Daksha divined about what had happened. He came to know what Narada had done. He was so angry. He thought, this Narada, just because he was not interested in the process of creation, he is trying to sabotage my work. And when in his fury, he did not know what to do. He is running up and down the stairs and going all around the palace and thinking of different ways to punish Narada. And then Brahma came there. He said, look, I understand your loss. This is a big loss indeed. But Just put that aside. Go on with the work that I have entrusted you to do. Anger is not going to take you anywhere. Okay, Daksha cooled down, and he began his life of normalcy again. And within a few years, he and Asikani, it's a very tongue twister of a name, his wife's name, Asikani, they had, this time not 10,000 children, they had 1,000 children. And they were all collectively called the Shabalashvas. Again, even though they were just 1,000 in number, it's not easy to remember each one of them by name, right? So probably that's why they were called the Shabalashvas. Again, Daksha fell in love with his sons, and how wonderful they were, how educated, how intelligent they were, and he brought them up extremely well, got them the best education that he could. And when the time came, about 14-15 years of age, he told the Shabalashvas what he had told Haryashvas. Fine, now the Shabalashvas also went to Narayanasara, they also took a dip, they also started meditating, and the history repeated itself. Who is to come there? Says Narada. He yet again convinced these 1,000 sons that they really aren't ready to take up this task. They really should not even be thinking about populating the worlds that Brahma has created. So the Haryashvas, young boys they also got very scared, and just like their brothers, they also vanished into the forest and never came back. Now, months passed into years. This time around, Daksha tried to divine early on about what had happened, and yet again, he could see what Narada had done. Daksha could not believe Narada. Once, it's fine. But sabotaging my mission and destroying my sons the exact same way as the first time? He went to where Narada was and started screaming at Narada. Narada tried to say something, but Daksha was like, stop. I don't want to listen to one word of what you say. I'm so inclined to curse you with something really big, but I don't want to stoop to your low levels, but I will still curse you. From now onwards, just like how you drove my sons out of my home, you become homeless too. Just like how my sons are wandering somewhere in the forest, you also become a wandering sage. You will never ever be able to settle in one place, neither in heaven, nor on earth, nor in Patalaloka. You will always be traveling from one place to the other. Narada just sighed. He did not even argue with Daksha because he was so angry, and Narada just disappeared from there. And Daksha's anger still hadn't abated. He came back and he yelled in front of his wife, he yelled in front of his ministers, and he was unable to focus on anything because he was so angry. And then Brahma came there. Brahma said, Daksha, remember that Narada is also my mind-born son. If you are interested in the process of populating the worlds, I have entrusted him the work of making sure that the worlds are populated well. So he, with his divine energy, could figure out that Shabalashvas and Haryashvas were still not capable of populating the worlds. The world wouldn't have been created the proper way if they were to take up on this task. So that is why he did what he did. But you did not even listen to him, and you just cursed him. You got angry. He said, being in the position that you are in, you have to be calmer. So, and then he brought Narada also there, and he ensured that Daksha and Narada, understood each other, and there was peace between the two of them. And now Daksha apologized to Narada, and he went on to creating more sons, and one of his daughters was actually Sati. So next time we will look at how Sati came into being, Daksha's daughter, and how Daksha's children actually populated the worlds. If you see here, I keep using the word worlds and not just the world, because as I said, we believe that there are 14 worlds and each need to be populated differently. So that sort of brings us to the end of this, again a short story from Shiva Purana. But this story actually brings forth a few issues that we can think about. So if you have, most of you will have heard about this phrase or the term emotional intelligence. So lately, just like how IQ is measured, emotional quotient or EQ is also a measure for one's overall intelligence. So what is this emotional intelligence or EQ? It is just a measure of how one handles obstacles, how one handles life when things don't go their way, how one handles his or her own balance of mind. So now there are three examples that we can take from here. One is the young boys themselves, the Haryashvas and the Shabalashvas. So what happens most of the time is when somebody, especially someone whom we respect, tells us something, tells us something negative especially, we tend to wilt. We don't even question it. We don't even want to think that, we have to see if what they are saying may not be a lie, but if we can circumvent what the person whom we respect is telling us. So that's what these boys did, right? Yes, Narada came and told them that they are incapable. So instead of getting so convinced by that argument and just abandoning the project that they set out on and abandoning the education that they had obtained for so many years, they just disappeared into the forest. Instead, they could have gone back to the palace and discussed with their father that this is what Narada has done. Why did he say what he said? Is there anything that can be remedied, right? So that would be emotionally more intelligent. So that is the right thing to do. Even when someone criticizes us, instead of wilting or getting angry, we have to evaluate that criticism. It's very, very difficult when we are criticized to see if there is any truth in that criticism. We get angry because we have some kind of an image about ourselves and about our deeds. So when someone destroys that image, we get angry or we get depressed. So it's not right to go into two extreme ways. So instead we will evaluate the criticism and discuss with more people and then come to a conclusion as to what to do about that criticism, if it is something that needs to be taken care of. Sometimes you can just leave it. Within yourself you can analyze and you can think, okay, maybe it's their opinion, it's not working out for me, just leave it at that, that's fine. But don't take extreme measures based on a criticism. And the second example here is Daksha. See, another aspect of emotional intelligence is how to handle when things don't go according to plan. See, it's very important to make a plan. Even when you wake up in the morning, you have to have a plan in place. Otherwise, your day is going to turn out very random, right? See, you may have a test to prepare for, you may have a class to take, and you may have work to finish. So everything needs a bit of planning. But when you plan, you should also keep in mind that the plan may not go according to what you think. There may be obstacles, right? I mean, if everything goes well, fine. For example, one simple thing, now everything is online and you are taking an online class or you're working or you're taking a call and the internet connection breaks. So what do you do then, right? Instead of getting angry and instead of getting flummoxed, you have to have a plan B. So that is another popular phrase in English, that's called plan B. So expect your plan to not go according to how you have designed it. Expect it to fail at some point. Then you have a plan B. So here Daksha, when his plan of his big happy family, his sons helping him out did not work out, he did not even for a moment take the time to ask Narada why did he do what he did, right? So he just flipped out, he got angry, he cursed Narada. So that is not the right thing to do. So another aspect to be noted here is when we respect someone, once again, Narada was a very respected sage. So Daksha, instead of getting angry with Narada, he could have thought, okay, my brother is an intelligent man, a very revered sage, a very accomplished sage, and he's also the mind-born son of Brahma. So why did he do this to my sons? So let's not assume that the moment somebody does something, They are doing it to destroy us. That is the first conclusion that we jump to, right? Oh, that person is so petty. He is doing this only because he or she wants to hurt us. Maybe not. One, they may be unaware of what they are doing. Second, they may be doing it with a purpose. Three, they may be doing not to hurt you, but just to benefit themselves, right? So in any event, communicating helps. Going, however uncomfortable it is to talk to someone that we are angry with, once that anger goes down a little, I think it helps to talk to that person and see, what went wrong between the two of you. So that kind of brings me to the end of the story and the analysis of the story. So until we meet next time, I hope we can think about whatever we are learning through these Puranic tales. They are so rich, and as I keep saying, they are both educating and entertaining. And until next time, have a wonderful day, and namaste.